Have you ever read a first line that feels less like an introduction and more like an accusation? That's exactly what happens in the opening of In Every Mirror, She is Black by Lola Akinmadde Åkerström. I recently met Lola in one of the events organized by her. It's a support group that she created for authors and it's called Atwara. You can find it online and maybe you want to join the online group and figure out or ask for the support that you might need to become a successful author. Coming back to the first paragraph project, let's begin with the reading of the opening line and the first paragraph. That will help you understand better when I break it into 5 aspects to help you understand how we can open a paragraph in a powerful way. It begins with just the name of one of the character, Kemi. America has decimated Kemi's love life. It had shredded her dignity and tossed its slivers into the air, cackling like a hyena. Relegated to picking up questionable prospects, Kemi was tired of wearing her invisible armor. A 2-ton defense system that screamed to the world she didn't need a man. So, this novel begins with big declaration. America had decimated Kemi's love life. Now, there is no easing us into the story. There is no description of the weather, no introduction to the setting, no explanation who Kemi is. Instead, we are confronted with a verdict. Not a man had ruined her love life, not a bad relationship, but a country. Immediately, the author shifts our attention away from an individual's choices and brings towards an entire social and cultural system. Whether you agree with the statement or not, it almost doesn't matter. Your mind instantly begins asking a question. How can a country destroy someone's love life? You want to know what had happened. What has this woman experienced that has led her to such a sweeping conclusion? But before we answer, the paragraph then moves into another emotionally charged situation. It had shredded her dignity and tossed its slivers into the air, crackling like a hyena. Now, the author doesn't simply say that she felt humiliated. She transforms dignity into something tangible, something that can be torn apart and can be lost. It's like creating a vivid image in reader's mind. You can almost picture tiny fragments floating through the air, impossible to just gather back together. That's much more memorable than just saying she felt bad. And great writers often replace abstract emotions with concrete images. They let the readers experience the feeling rather than merely just understand it. And as we move forward within the paragraph comes another striking image. The protagonist Kemi is described as wearing invisible armor. Armors are designed to protect us, but armor is also heavy. It blocks our movement, and we know that we cannot embrace anyone while we are fully protected. This metaphor tells us that Kemi has spent so long defending herself that self protection has become exhausting to her. The paragraph then ends with another painful observation. It says that her armor silently announces to the world that she doesn't need a man. Notice that the author doesn't tell us whether this perception is true or false. Instead, she reveals the burden of constantly having to project strength. In just few sentences, we've learned almost nothing about the plot. We don't know where Cami is. We don't know her age. We don't know what has happened to us. And yet, we already understand her emotional world. This is one of the remarkable strengths of this opening. And now, as always, let's break it down through the 5 lenses we use in the first paragraph project. So let's look at this first paragraph through the first lens called curiosity. This opening is built almost entirely on an unanswered question. The first sentence gives us a conclusion before any evidence is provided. America has decimated Camille's love life. Instead of explaining the circumstances, the author presents an emotional outcome. Readers naturally want to understand how can someone reach to such a conclusion. The paragraph keeps withholding the information. Who hurt her? Was it one relationship or many relationships? Is the race involved, immigration, culture, or gender expectation? Each sentence invites another question while refusing to answer the previous one. This is an excellent example of creating curiosity through omission of information. The writer trusts the reader's imagination. Instead of explaining everything, she allows the readers to ask their own questions to pull them deeper into the story. And that's curiosity for me. Moving on to the next lens of our first paragraph project is voice. Now, this paragraph has an unmistakable voice. The verbs decimated, shredded, tossed are powerful, violent words. Nothing about the language is passive. The narrator isn't reporting events, she's expressing accumulated pain. The metaphors also reinforce the voice. For example, dignity becomes shredded pieces. Strength becomes invisible armor. Every image carries emotional weight. The voice is confident enough to make bold statements without even apologizing for them. And whether readers agree with every opinion, that's not the point. The confidence itself becomes compelling. Moving on to the third lens in the first paragraph project is character. Although we know very little about Kemi, but we quickly understand her psychology. We know that she's disappointed and she has been disappointed repeatedly. We know that she has learned to protect herself and we know that she is emotionally tired. And most important, what I can sense is that beneath the armor is someone who still longs for connection. That's why the armor metaphor works so well. People don't wear armor unless they have already been wounded. They don't become tired of wearing it unless they have been carrying it for a long time. The author gives us an emotional truth before providing any factual information. And readers often connect more deeply with emotions than giving biographies. And just a reminder, if you have not subscribed to the channel, do that. If you are liking this video, hit the like button and also invite some author friends. Some must have started writing and they would benefit a lot from this kind of information. Moving on to the fourth lens, which is stakes. The stakes in this opening are not external. Nobody's life is in danger. There isn't any mystery to solve. Instead, the stakes are emotional. Can Cami trust again? Can she rebuild her dignity? Can she stop living in survival mode? Will she ever feel seen beyond the stereotypes and expectations that are imposed upon her? These internal stakes are powerful because they affect every relationship she may have throughout the novel. The paragraph quietly tells us that this story is about much more than romance. Since I have read this book, I know it is about identity, belonging, race, gender, and self worth. That's the stakes for me in this first paragraph project. Let's talk about the last lens, which is momentum. Now, in every mirror, she's black. Lola demonstrates that momentum doesn't always come from action. It can come from emotional escalation also. The first sentence talks about love. The second expands the damage to dignity. The third introduces tiredness. And each sentence deepens the emotional wound. Instead of broadening the story outward, the author keeps digging inward. By the end of the paragraph, readers are not asking what happens next, they are asking what happened before this. That's an equally powerful form of narrative momentum. The author understands that readers will continue turning pages to uncover the experiences that produced this emotional state. As my final thoughts, this opening is a masterclass in beginning with emotional consequences rather than chronological events. Lola doesn't introduce a plot, she introduces us to a wound, and wounds naturally invite questions. We want to know who caused them, how deep they are, and whether they can ever heal. That's why this first paragraph stays with the reader long after they have finished it. Overall, this is an exceptional opening because it proves that a first paragraph doesn't need dramatic action to be unforgettable. Sometimes a single emotional truth that is expressed with honesty, precision, and powerful imagery is enough to compel us to read on. If you have read In Every Mirror She is Black, I would love to hear your thoughts. Did this opening hook you? Tell me in the comments. And if there is another paragraph you would like me to analyze, leave it in the comments below. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the First Paragraph Project, where every week I explore how great writers turn a handful of sentences into an irresistible invitation to keep reading. The next book that I am going to bring to you in the First Paragraph Project is The Book of Goose by Yuan Lee. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you next week.